finalists for the position of DuPage County Clerk. We have Paul Hinds and Jean Kaczmarek. Mr. Hinds will proceed first.
We have a working mic. All right, there we go. I'll hold it away. So I want to thank all of you for giving up your Sunday afternoon. Beautiful day. We should actually take this outside. I believe we really would have had a good time. But my name is Paul Hinds. I'm currently your DuPage County Clerk. I've worked in the office for 22 years. The last 4 years as your elected county clerk. I go to work every day to try to find out how can we improve and streamline my employees' duties that then reflects on how can we best serve you, the citizens of DuPage County. Most people always say when I say I'm the DuPage County Clerk, they go, well, what do you do? You know, what is that position? And we have many different aspects. We're the secretary and for the ETSB board, the county board. I'm also the liquor secretary for the Liquor Commission for DuPage County. Our other duties are also vital records. That's what most people come into our office for. Everybody's coming for a marriage license, a birth certificate. It's always a joyous occasion. I always say when I come in, it's a happy time. You just had a birth or you're looking forward to getting married. And so on that end, it's always a good time. We also are an integral part of the tax system. We actually come up with the tax rate that we send over to the county collector, who then sends out the tax bills. So we work at the taxing districts to get their levies. We work with the assessors, the 9 township assessors, to get their values. Then we calculate the rates under the tax cap law, and then we pass that on for the collector. So in a brief synopsis there, we're almost done with my 30 seconds. That is currently what we've done. I go to work, like I say, every day to find out how can we improve this system, how can we make it better for you, the citizens. It's not a shiny office. It's not, I always say, if you don't read about me in the newspaper, that means I'm doing my job correctly. So I appreciate the opportunity to address the organization here today. Thank you.
Ms. Kaczmarek.
Thank you, Glen Ellyn League of Women Voters, for hosting this forum. And it gives me hope that all of you would be here on a hot Sunday afternoon. Democracy is not a spectator sport. I am an ordinary citizen and a political outsider devoted to making our county a better place. 13 years ago, I found myself evolving into a volunteer watchdog of DuPage elections. It's not how I planned my life. Early on, I saw that the commission wasn't truly independent. Commissioners were appointed by one person, votes were unanimous with no meaningful discussion. The only independence I saw allowed for a lack of accountability with no oversight. In 2005, I began calling for the return of our elections to the clerk's office. That vision has become a reality. The county clerk will be taking over that responsibility next year. That's why I'm a candidate for this office. If you ask 100 other county clerks in Illinois what their #1 responsibility is, he or she would reply, administering elections. My deep conviction for an open, fair, secure, and reliable electoral process is the unfinished work of the same movement which led to the formation of the League of Women Voters. We must never take the right to vote and to have our vote counted for granted. I beg you to join me. Take ownership. This must be our campaign, a campaign for a government of due diligence, of ethics, of inclusion, of courage, of impacting positive change, of making democracy work.
Thank you. Ms. Kaczmarek, the first question is to you. What are the responsibilities of the clerk's office?
Well, the responsibilities of the clerk office, as Paul had already discussed, include the calculation of the property taxes. They are also the keeper of the county records, and they also issue birth certificates and marriage licenses. Those are the main responsibilities right now.
Mr. Hinds?
I think we summed it up pretty much in my opening statement. So yes, those are the duties currently today. we've actually gone in, and I'm actually on the electronic notary task force, and that's another avenue that we're looking at. Is we're also the registrar for notaries in our office. So if you're a notary public, you come to our office to notarize your signatures on registration. We are actually looking to go to electronic signatures. I'm on the task force with the state to come up with laws. Senator Holmes from Kendall County introduced a law or a bill to look into that. So I'm on that task force looking at, instead of having actual books with your signatures on it, we're actually going to go to an electronic signature, and that way you can register. We've also worked with the Secretary of State to get our notaries electronically transmitted to us. And so currently today we download it, we send you a letter, say your notary is ready to go. You come in, sign the book, we print the certificate in-house rather than having the state print it and send it to us.
Thank you. Staying with you, Mr. Hinds, what policy will you implement to save taxpayers money, and how will you run the office?
All right, the one thing is technology. Technology is number one, and we can get into the elections segment, but currently right now what we're looking, like I just said, we now moved into electronic downloading of the Secretary of State's information that we get, that then we send out to you. That saves us money because we automatically load it into our system to send out the bill, or send out your letter. So people are now, instead of having employees' time, take that data, enter all this, we are electronically entering it. That saves time. That means I can do more with less employees, and we can actually put them on other things. As we get the election commission moving to our office, that will free that employee up to do election duties.
Thank you. Ms. Kaczmarek?
Well, I disagree. We're going to be having to spend an awful lot of money on technology. In January this year, the election director said that we need $15 million to update and secure our electoral process. So that's something we must be spending some money on in the near future. As far as saving money, we're about to get rid of some election commissioners, and they're being paid $27,500. They come to one meeting a month, and when the election commission is dissolved, we'll no longer be paying them. We'll also be getting rid of the very excessive attorney's fees, and we'll be using the state's attorney's office. And also, I'd like to reevaluate some of those executive salaries that we have in both the county clerk's office and at the election commission.
Thank you. Staying with you, Ms. Kaczmarek, what measures do you support to improve and secure elections and voting in DuPage County?
Well, my top priority is to make sure that our elections are reliable and secure. I don't know if you realize this, but the election machines that we have in DuPage County, the OptiScans, were purchased in 2001, and the technology is even older than that. The touchscreens were purchased in 2006. And Stephen Sanvos, who is the executive director of the Illinois State Board of Elections, said that 90% of the voting equipment that we use at DuPage in the state of Illinois, 90% of it is old and needs to be replaced. That's very sobering. And I think that what we need to do is realize that this is not going to be an easy task. We must have the political will, in addition to me just saying that we need to have something done. Thank you.
Mr. Hinds?
Can you repeat the question again?
Certainly. What measures do you support to improve and secure elections and voting in DuPage County?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, actually, once the election commission the duties get transferred to the county clerk's office, certainly we're going to be working with our IT department. And I think we touched on how do we save money, and I know my opponent has talked about, right, we'll have our own, the state's attorney will become the state's attorney. Our IT department will become my IT department, our IT department election commission. So instead of going outside and getting separate firms, our IT department, and I'm going to work with them, find out what is the best strategy. We need to look at the system. The system is old. The system does need to be improved. How do we improve it? But how do we improve it? Saying financially and also having accurate and secure elections. That's the number one priority is accurate and secure. I mean, that's, without that, the elections mean nothing. So that's our priority number one, but I will be working with the county staff to make sure that that is done in the correct and proper way.
Thank you. Staying with you, Mr. Hinds, on a related issue, how would you ensure transparency of the elections following the merging of the Election Commission and Clerk's office?
Well, I think, again, you're going to an elected office where it's right now it's appointed board. The elected office, I mean, everybody in this room has a vital interest in this system, and you elect the county clerk to represent your views to get it done. So I think the number one issue is I'm going to do what the public feels best is in the best interest of the public, but what it also secures it. I mean, we have to be careful that we look at all aspects. I want to look at the election judges. I want to ask the judges, what do you see as improvements? I want to look at the polling places. We need to assess the polling places. Is there a better way to do it? Are vote centers better than having individual polling places? Is it more secure? They have a larger vote center. I mean, those are issues we have to look at. We have to look at the staff of the Election Commission, and as we merge them in, how do they align with my staff? So what some of my staffs are doing jobs today cannot be merged in during the election process. I see that as happening also. We're going to combine the offices, and it's a combination. So thank you.
Ms. Kaczmarek?
Well, as county clerk, transparency will be hallmark. I have tried to get information from our county, from our election commission for years, and you wouldn't believe how hard it is just to get basic information. And a lot of the information should just be available online, on a website. It's not. We have to beg for it. We have to file lawsuits to get it. Right now, I'm trying to get the serial numbers of the old cast-off machines that were given to DuPage County by Liberty Systems following the settlement agreement from ruining all these 118 machines from the primary 2018 election. And I think that we need to really take a hard look at how we've been doing our elections, because right now they are not open.
Staying with you, Ms. Kaczmarek. Do you propose more precincts, more hours, or other ways to increase voter accessibility?
Well, right now we have 268 polling places, and that's down considerably from like 5 years ago. And it is a concern. We did save some money, and that's always a good thing, but I don't know if it's a good idea to remove accessibility to the polling places. It also has caused a lot of chaos. People thought that they knew where their polling place was, and there were some mix-ups there. I think that we need to look very hard at possibly even increasing some polling places in the near future to make up for some of that. Thank you.
Mr. Hinds?
There's 930 precincts in DuPage County. We're down to under 400 polling places. That's because we've consolidated, the Board of Election has consolidated many precincts into one polling place. I think that makes sense in the time that early voting has started. There's a lot more people voting by mail. There's more people voting early when you actually go in the person to a voting center, basically, or an early voting site to vote. I think that's one thing we need to look at. I'm open to both ideas. Do we need more polling places, better accessibility? The key is getting harder and harder to get polling places. Churches are now starting to say, well, I don't know if we really want polling places. The schools really don't want polling places. And so it's getting harder and harder to find an ADA accessible polling place that's not in the basement that you have to go downstairs or it's upstairs. And so the challenge is going to be finding polling places, but they need to be accessible, and they need to be accessible conveniently so you're not crossing major highways and that type of things.
Thank you. To you, Mr. Hinds, how should the county clerk collaborate with other county offices, including the county board and forest preserves?
Okay, well, we do have a working relationship. I guess the different offices, I have a working relationship with the treasurer's office and the collector's office, because we have to work together in order to get the tax bills out on time. I have a working relationship with the county recorder, because we also do name changes on your tax bill, so if you record a deed, I have to be able to download that deed into my system so that we can enter your new tax mailing address. The county board and the county board chairman, I mean, they're essential because they vote on my budget. They're now going to become, I'm going to go to them for money for election equipment or to run the office. And so when we do look and we need new needs, I have to work with the board members to get things done in the office. So we have a good working relationship with all the fellow countywides, and that just helps DuPage streamline and make everything better. I also work with all the departments, and we need to work with the departments in order to streamline and keep things on target.
Thank you. Ms. Kaczmarek?
Well, right now, we don't have any reason to be working with the Forest Preserve. The Forest Preserve is a separate entity. In fact, I was one of the people that fought having the county clerk leave his work and go over to the Forest Preserve and serve as secretary over there and receive a separate salary that was pension eligible, and then meanwhile have his staff back at the county clerk's office do all the work on that. And so, no, nothing should be done with the county clerk's office and the Forest Preserve. But many of the changes and the funding that are required to improve the county clerk's office and bring up our electoral process where it needs to be requires political will. And I'm not convinced that we have that right now. We really need to look at electing some new people, some fresh faces to that county board, and we need to elect Lynn LaPlante. Thank you.
Final question. What accomplishment in your past are you most proud of?
I am most proud of being a government watchdog. It's been filled with a lot of work, a lot of heartache. I've never been paid, but and I never imagined myself doing this before I became a watchdog. But now I just cannot imagine doing anything else with my life. It's been very rewarding, and I will continue having that same dogged view of looking at what needs to be done in this county. I guess I'll always be a watchdog.
Mr. Hinds?
I guess my number one in my last 4 years has been expanding the website. We talked about transparency. The clerk is the holder of all your records going back to 1839. It's like we need to make them accessible so you don't have to physically come into the office. In past years, so we've expanded the website. We've offered more things online. We're scanning documents. You can pull those up. The tax bodies, everything that the tax, like the levy, everything is now online and viewable. We've taken our collector books. The people who have ever tried to show that your house is more than 100 years old, or you want to get a plaque from the Historical Society, you used to have to come down to our basement and go through microfilm. Well, we put all those online now. You can now sit at 2 in the morning and look through your list and find out when your house was built. So those are the things that we have the information. It's getting information out, so you don't have to physically have to come in during 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. You can go home this afternoon and look up documents. That's the number one. That's what I'm proudest of, is that we are transparent. We have no documents we're trying to hide.
Thank you. We will now go ahead with the closing statements. 1 minute, please. You begin, Mr. Hinds.
Again, wrapping it up, and I guess what we are is proud, and I think one thing is, look at my record. For the last 4 years, I've been the county clerk. You don't hear about scandals. You don't hear about that because, you know what, we go to work every day. We do our job and we go home. And we try to make life better for all the residents of DuPage County. Our customer service is second to none. You come into the office, you don't have to pull a number and go sit out in the hall and wait for an hour or so like we do in neighboring counties. People come into my office always and say, you know what, this is such a pleasure to come into your office. Everybody, they're knowledgeable in what we do. We respond to them in person, right there. You don't have to wait. We give you your documents you need. People can't believe it when they say, well, am I going to mail this in, a couple weeks? No, it goes out the same day. We get Vital Check is our ordering forms online, so your vital records can be ordered online now. That was never done in the past. You're down in Florida, you need your birth certificate, you didn't have time to come in. That now is, over the last 4 years, we've improved that system.
Thank you.
I came to the sobering reality in 2005 that if I didn't step up to make necessary changes at the Election Commission, no one would. I worked to stop the destruction of public records without compliance of the law. I exposed that public records denied to us were being stored in a warehouse owned by the former commission chairman's brother. I effectively fought the abuse of power, secret personal and business ties with vendors, no bid contracts, overcharging, and the political contributions and excessive fees of the commission's contracted law firm. I've challenged improper procedures and unethical practices. I have spoken truth to power. I managed to accomplish this and much more from the outside. Imagine what I could do from the inside. Thank you, Glen Ellyn League of Women Voters. I'm Jean Kaczmarek, candidate for DuPage County Clerk.
Thank you to these candidates.